Welcome to Sound Bites. I'm your host, Jennifer Chandler, and I'm here with Mary Oglesby and Paul Gilliam, the owners of Cameo and Mary's Bar of Tropical Escapism. This week, we're going to talk about their bars and tropical drinks. Sound Bites is the Daily Memphian's weekly food, drink, and dining podcast. You can tune in on WYXR Radio every Thursday at 11 a.m. or listen wherever you get your podcast, iTunes or Spotify, or listen at dailymemphian.com. If you are listening on WYXR, up next you can listen to Sidebar with Eric Barnes. But let's get started talking about tropical drinks. Mary and Paul, thank you for having us at Mary's Bar of Tropical Escapism.
Hi.
Hey.
It's exciting to be here. I feel like I have stepped into another world. Midtown Memphis is behind me, and now I am somewhere very tropical, and I'm feeling the vibe, and there's cool drinks around, and this place is pretty amazing. You guys have created something special here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So first, since this bar kind of has two names and has been called by two different things, Mary's Bar of Tropical Escapism and Mary's Boat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mary's Boat.
So kind of tell us about how it got a nickname.
Well, that's actually Paul. Paul came up with the name.
Yeah, I came up with the name. I just thought it was fun. It's a very common thing for like tropical and or like tiki bars to be named after a certain person, like Trader Sam's or what have you. And Mary has since I've known her always been someone who has kind of like not only helped me or like got me into like cocktail culture and like kind of been my like mentor within the service industry and like bartending and stuff, but whenever we would like travel or we'd go somewhere, we'd always go to like a fun like tiki bar in whatever city we were in, or any tropical bar. So when we were talking about doing this, I thought it would be a nice nod to Mary. But we like to say that Mary is a concept and not specifically Mary Oglesby.
Yeah.
And so, just trying to think of a cool name that would flow and also kind of push the idea of the bar being a tropical bar, tropical escapism, and not specifically anything tiki. So I thought, Bar of Tropical Escapism, and hoping that people would understand that when you put those together, it would sound it out, be boat. But people have said all different kinds of things. B.O.T.E, booty, which is all very fun. But yeah, it is boat. We just think it's fun.
Now, this is your second concept here in Midtown Memphis. This opened in the spring. Was it March that you opened? What month did you open?
Officially, it was April 13th.
April 13th. Okay. So you've been open a few months. And right now, when it is very steamy and tropical outside in Memphis, Tennessee, there's no better way to cool down than to come here, is there?
Doesn't seem like it. People are definitely showing up and really enjoying themselves. We see a lot of people coming in that are 100% here for the concept or here to dive into it. People that you can tell like think about what they're going to wear before they come here, which is such a fun thought that people are like at home being like, we're going to Mary's Boat. We need to bust out a Hawaiian shirt. We need to get our flowers in our hair. And we see it every night.
It's really
fun.
Cute how it never occurred to me before, but I've realized since we opened this place that like Hawaiian shirt is one of those things that so many people just seem to have in their closet, like having plain white t-shirt or a little black dress, Hawaiian shirt. Just like these are the staples you have to have. And so people I'll ask people, like when we were hiring, I'd be like, well, do you have a Hawaiian shirt? And they would be like, yes, I do, obviously.
That's what I wear usually.
Yeah.
And you're like, cool.
But then you see people come in and it'll be like couples or groups of people and they all have like their coordinated tropical outfits that they clearly have put thought into. And it is just so great because that means that they're contributing to the vibe and clearly are excited about it. And it's really nice to see.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I will, for all of you who cannot see me at the moment, I walked in the door and Mary complimented me on my bright green dress. And I did tell her when I walked in, I said, well, I was coming to a tropical bar, so I needed to make sure I had a fun, bright tropical color when I came in.
And it really matches the Mandarin booths.
Oh, yes, I do. I guess should be a fixture here.
It's a really good, that's color blocking. It's very nice.
So, one of the things I remember you guys talking about when you were opening was that you didn't want to be called a tiki bar. You were very important to be called a tropical bar because there is so much more to tropical drinks, the whole world, that whole genre, than just what a tiki bar is, which is traditionally from kind of a Polynesian area.
Right. So there are very specific tiki bars, and tiki drinks, as far as like in the cocktail world, are a very specific thing. And while it's not necessarily common knowledge outside of, like bartenders and cocktail culture that tiki drinks are this very specific thing, it happens a lot where, like, it'll be like, well, I want a mojito because I'm at a tiki bar, but because you're at a tiki bar, you can't have a mojito because that's not on the menu, or something like that, because it's not technically a tiki drink. It is a tropical drink, though, and there are all sorts of beverages from tropical locations or that come from a tropical tradition that are fantastic and can be incorporated into all of that aren't necessarily tiki drinks specifically. And then there's also a lot of tiki drinks that people won't necessarily look at and go, oh, that's tropical, because it doesn't necessarily read that way on a menu. And so it's pretty cool to be able to incorporate, the long tradition of tiki drinks while also incorporating things like our frozen pina colada, a fantastic mojito, a hurricane. Like, none of those things would ever be considered tiki drinks traditionally. Mezcal Paloma, yeah. But nobody could ever argue that they're not tropical, because they are. Yeah.
If you're sitting on a boat drinking margarita, I promise you're going to feel tropical.
Yeah.
Like, there's something about it.
Yeah.
And we have a really good margarita, like, on the menu, ready to go. And a lot of our top selling drinks are things that are like tropical drinks, but not like tiki specific stuff. And there are a lot of like tiki purists that would be like, they're not a real tiki bar, because we're like, we never said we were. We said we were a tropical bar that has inclusions of like all these different like larger umbrella of tropical atmosphere and beverages without, like cutting our own legs off and saying that we are only one thing. And
right.
So it actually makes it a little bit more fun. It's a little more inclusive to a lot more people who might not really want to go in, headfirst into just the tiki culture, but, we have a little bit of everything for everyone.
That's great. So what are some of your top selling drinks here? And when you talk about them, tell me about where they're from.
Oh, yeah. So our pina colada is a huge seller. It sells way more than we ever expected. It's frozen pina colada that we make with all fresh ingredients. We make our coconut cream daily in-house, sometimes multiple times daily in-house, because we go through so much of it. And yeah, so that's one of our biggest sellers. Paul, what would you say is the next one?
I would say that like the pina colada, the best mojito Mary's ever had, and Mezcal Paloma are like always usually in the top 5, and everything kind of moves around from there. But the Jet Pilot is a really, really fun one that we sell a lot of. The Cobra's Fang.
Okay, you have to come back. What is in the Jet's Pilot?
We can't tell you. We have to kill you.
Oh. So I just need to order one and I'll take off.
It is on fire. And so whenever we see a lot of like tag mentions and stuff, it's a lot of the same like 3 or 4 drinks that are very fun spectacle drinks. Like the Jet Pilot, that is a very like common, unassuming glass, but with a hollowed out line that's on fire, and there's cinnamon. Volcano Bowl does really well.
The Cobra's Fang.
The Cobra's Fang is in a really dope looking snake cup, and some people just get it because it's in a sweet snake cup.
Yeah,
so.
people will just straight up order, can I get the snake drink?
Snake drink, yeah.
Well, it's funny, for those of you guys who have not been here, I mean, you just have to look on the walls, and we're going to get into the decor in a minute, but when you talk about the cool cups, I'm looking right now at the Cobra. I see some multicolored parrots that we can have drinks from. I see some those cactuses right there. A mermaid. Look at this. So there's so much fun glassware. So one of the things that I've loved about Cameo, which you opened first, and then about this one as well, is that you pay so much attention to detail. And why do you think it's important to serve a drink in a specialty cup?
Well, I mean, I guess the most obvious answer is the result of it, which is that, that's what people want. Like, people will, a lot of times, before they even look at the menu, say, what can I get in that mermaid cup? Or what can I get in that snake cup? Like, they want that. And I think it's because it's just like with food. You taste with your eyes first. And so if a drink is really eye-catching, then it is a more fun experience. Like, it's the same as, like, you could have that same drink. You could have, say, a Missionary's Downfall, which is served in our mermaid cup. It's a delicious drink. It is, it's light rum with peach and mint and honey and all of these things. It's delicious. But if you had it in a red Solo cup, it would not be as fun to drink as when it comes in our mermaid cup with an orchid on top and all of this stuff. Like, it just wouldn't be as fun. And it's part of the all-encompassing experience in the same way that the atmosphere itself is. The atmosphere itself, with all of our bamboo and our flowers and our nets and the giant parrot and all of these things, contribute to the overall guest experience, which, when you're having your drink, the first thing you see is this beautiful beverage. Then you get to spend the entire time with your drink looking at this beautiful piece of art, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that you talk about, the nets and things like that, is that you really do feel like you've entered into another world. And you're not in Memphis when you step foot in here, because you guys have paid so much attention to. What was this building before?
This specific space was attached to another space next to us, but when we got in here, it was pretty much like it was
just an empty shell.
It was an empty shell, but I think there was like a commercial refrigeration repair shop in these bays, but it had been years since anyone was here. So, but like this space was like fully hollowed out, just like a half dirt floor with a cinder block wall kind of a thing. Like, there wasn't anything here.
It didn't even have a front door. It was just a garage door on the back.
Yeah.
Wow. And if you haven't been to Mary's Boat, it is on Cooper, basically almost at Cooper and Peabody, at that intersection. It's next door, the cycle bar next door, right?
Cycle bar's right there, and then Hattie B's is over there too.
Yep. Yeah, Hattie B's is down the street. So that's where you know where to find it. And you guys have a patio too, with some flamingos on it and other fun things.
Right. So our patio, we decided that we wanted, in the same way that we didn't want just tiki or just anything specifically, we wanted to have kind of two different spaces that are both very tropical vibes, but different kinds of tropical vibes. So inside, we keep the lights low. It's more of like a vibey kind of, a little bit more like a traditional tiki bar, but without a lot of the traditional tiki bar things. But it has more of like that kind of vibe inside, whereas outside it's very Palm Springs, with astroturf and yard flamingos and bright blues.
Lots
and
of plants.
Lots of plants and like bright blue shade sails and things like that. And it's just an entirely different vibe outside. And we have big privacy fences that completely enclose the area so that you can kind of forget that you're in the middle of Midtown Memphis. You can't even hear the traffic.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, very nice.
That's cool. And you guys are only open at night. What days are you open?
We're open every day but Monday, and we open at 4 p.m. each day.
That's great. And what time do you close, or until?
We're open until midnight, except for Fridays and Saturdays when we're open till 2 a.m.
And why do you guys think that this genre of tropical drinks, why are they so refreshing? And what makes them? Obviously, there's ice involved, as you guys can probably hear. There's an ice maker in the background, and that's one of the things we walked in. We said, "Oh, we're doing a podcast. Can we turn off the ice?" And Paul was quick to say, "No, that's one of the most important things we have here." But more, it's not just having ice drinks or frozen drinks. Tell me a little bit about what makes the kind of genre of something being tropical.
Right. So, well, first of all, it's the ingredients. So a lot of the ingredients that go into a tropical drink are going to be things that are grown in tropical climates. So we have drinks that obviously use fresh lime and fresh lemon, fresh orange, things like that. But then on top of that, we also have drinks that contain hibiscus. We have like one with a couple of them with hibiscus aqua fresca. We have some passion fruit drinks, lots of pineapple. We use a lot of pineapple. And that's really like the first step. And then there's so much mint too. So like, and mint is something that you definitely associate with spring and summer and hot weather, and it just grows everywhere in warmer climates. And having all of those ingredients incorporated just gives you like that feeling of summertime, or of warm weather. And then we use a specific kind of ice. The ice machine that you might be able to hear in the background is a pebble ice machine that a lot of people would associate with like Sonic. So it's that kind of chewable, crunchy pebble ice.
The good ice.
The good ice. Yeah, people call it the good ice. It's the good ice. And what's great about that is that, first of all, it makes the drink extremely, extremely cold very quickly because it's so small. But then also you can pack it in so that it keeps the drink really cold without melting really fast. But then as it does start to dilute a little bit, you get a more refreshing drink. So like your drink gets to kind of change and get a little bit more refreshing as you're drinking it. So yeah, I guess that's probably what would be the flavors and then the way that it's presented.
You're listening to the Daily Memphian Soundbites with me, Jennifer Chandler, and today we're talking with Mary Oglesby and Paul Gilliam about tropical drinks and their 2 Midtown bars. If you're tuning in on WYXR, keep listening for the Sidebar with Eric Barnes and Toby Sells after this. If you're listening through your podcast app, be sure to subscribe. You can also find our Daily Memphian podcast, The Sidebar with Eric Barnes, about art, culture, and more, Grizzlies Pod with Drew Hill and Chris Harrington, Beyond the Headlines Podcast Edition, On the Record, occasional political podcast with Daily Memphian legend Bill Dries. One of the things that I remember when you guys first opened Cameo, what year was that? Can you remind me?
2022.
2022. That I'd known both of you from when you worked at previous restaurants, and you were always, if I saw y'all at the bar, I knew I needed to get to that side of the bar because I knew I would have an excellent drink. And then when you guys decided to create Cameo, I remember having the discussion about creating, do I dare say, a better bar, or a bar that is one that you truly wanted to work in when you guys got together to create Cameo. So can you guys talk a little bit about what are things that you think that you're doing different, that you're excited about, that make this a better industry?
Right. So it's super, super important to us, like to the point of being almost like debilitatingly important to us that we be the kind of atmosphere that somebody wants to work in. It's impossible to be perfect. That's just not possible, unfortunately. But we spend a lot of sleepless nights trying to figure out how to make it as close to a perfect environment as possible. I guess a few things that we do different and things that we always wanted when we were bartending is there is this weird kind of thing that people do sometimes when they say, well, I'm bartending, but this is what, like people will be like, well, what's your real job? And the reality is that the service industry is a real job. It is a huge part of our economy. Like people, you just saw with like COVID, like what happened when all of these bars and restaurants closed and people lost their jobs and how much that affected everything. And so to imply that it's not a real job is insulting, to say the least, because it is a very, very difficult job. And it's important to the customers, when our guests come in, they come in for an experience and they come in to have a good time. And the people who are working are the ones that facilitate that recreation and facilitate that downtime for people who just got off of their jobs. And so it is a very, very important job, really to everybody. And so it should be treated like a real job. And so a couple of the things that we thought were really important were, first of all, we offer health insurance, which is not common in the service industry. We offer health insurance for anybody who works full-time, which full-time in the service industry is only 30 hours a week. We call it that because it is a really physically taxing job. And it's late at night, But so there's that. We offer paid time off, vacation pay, all of these things.
Sick leave,
all of these things that are offered to people when they work in jobs where they're respected as professionals. And we respect our employees as the professionals that they are. And we treat them as such as much as humanly possible. But another part of that is that we work in the bars that we own. We have both worked for a lot of absentee owners in our lives. And there is a very stark difference between working in a place where you're working side by side with the ownership and working at a place where the owner is this kind of mystical being that comes in from time to time to tell you how much you suck, you know? So, sorry. But it's important to us that we work side by side with our employees, and we did at Cameo, we do at B.O.T.E. And that way, not only for the sake of the business, but also because, I guess for the sake of the business, because you can't really know what is going on unless you're actually there. And being there means working there. And so, we're able to see like, okay, so we want this thing to happen. We want our employees to execute this thing. Well, how are we supposed to know if that's even possible if we're not trying to do it ourselves? How many times has anybody ever been told by the powers that be, well, you need to do A, B, and C. And you're like, well, that's literally impossible. Why do you not know that? And we know whether or not it's impossible to do something because we work there. And I guess that's probably the biggest thing for us.
Yeah, that in like from a like a day-to-day work standpoint, being the people that literally designed every inch of the bar from the perspective of bartending and making it as easy as possible to complete your job. Like, you should be busy because you're busy and not because the bar is hard to work at. We have worked in plenty of bars where the actual layout of the bar itself was of no consequence to the actual workers there. And so it just made our job really, really hard because no one even thought about it. It was an afterthought. And so it was since day one of like building the space and designing the space down to the inch, everything that we tried to do with both Cameo and with Mary's Boat was with the bartender in mind, to make working here as easy as possible so you can focus on customer interaction, so you can focus on all the other things, because you're not just running around like a chicken with its head cut off. Like, everything is where it's supposed to be, and your job is nice and easy. And so that's what we tried to do. And I've worked behind both of these bars, and they are both the two easiest bars to work behind that I've ever been in. So,
yeah, you can tell the difference between working behind a bar that was designed by an interior designer and working behind a bar that was designed by somebody who's ever been behind a bar.
Yeah,
There's
I can
a
only
huge
imagine.
difference.
Yeah.
And I just have to give you guys kudos about this attention to detail, because not only is it helping you and your staff have a better work environment, but it translates to the guest experience, because when we were talking about the glassware earlier and the special kinds of ice, but your attention to detail from a guest perspective at both locations is pretty astounding. And when you come and sit at one of your bars, and I've been to Cameo much more than I've been here, but I'm always amazed. And plus, you have this really, when you talk about a bar that's efficient, like the menu at Cameo, that's a big drink bar menu.
Yeah, I think with house and non-alcoholic and everything else, it's like getting close to 100 drinks on menu at any given time.
And that's a lot.
A lot to ask for people to memorize all those drinks.
And every time you order one, it's not just a drink that comes in a plain old Libby highball glass that you bought like at Restaurant Depot. It usually, most of the time, it comes like in a pretty glass, and it's garnished a certain way, and everybody's drink, when you're looking down the bar, everyone's drink looks different and looks like a work of art, in addition to being delicious. And I think that that's one of the things that really, for me, makes coming to one of your places, a destination and experience. And why I like coming.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So, if you had to pick a favorite drink to cool down on a hot summer day here at Mary's Boat, each of you say which would, immediately off the top of your head, what would you do? What would you order?
Mojito.
Mojito?
Pina colada, I guess. Yeah.
He chose the least laborious, and I chose the most.
Because your pina colada is already frozen in a machine.
It's ready to go.
Yeah, but I do agree with the pina colada as well, because it is delicious and it's frozen and it's cold.
Yeah, and you make your own coconut cream. I mean, that's attention to detail and a lot of love that goes into every one of these drinks, because I can guarantee you, I bet you're the only bar that I know of, not just in Memphis, that is making your own coconut cream. I didn't even know you could do such a thing.
Maybe.
Possibly. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of like making frosting.
I love that attention to detail. And if, I just might have to like have a tropical drink now to cool down on this hot summer day. So that's all the time we have for now. You can tune in on WYXR Radio every Thursday at 11, or listen wherever you get your podcast, iTunes or Spotify, or listen at thedailymemphian.com. Thank you, Mary and Paul, for being here with us today. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.